Cheers to you guys. Welcome to
Creative Happy Hour,
where we get drunk
on the creative possibilities.
every week with you guys, our creative bitches. Yeah. Speaking of creative possibilities, we're going to narrow those down this week because we're talking about
minimalism.
Minimalism is super trendy right now. Minimalism is an art movement. And it's also
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
We're going to talk a little bit about all of those, and we're going to talk about how minimalism can kind of
stimulate your creativity.
Absolutely. It can create a more rich, creative life for you while you pare down the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
In that spirit, we thought we would not mix together a bunch of different liquors. And
we're keeping it very minimal.
We're keeping it minimal. We're having a Gunlock Bunshu Zen. It's a Zinfandel from the Estate Vineyard 2017. We're going to check it out. We thought it looked nice and simple.
Nice and simple as we're keeping it
Keeping
that way.
it simple, stupid. K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, cheers. Let's check it out. Okay, our little minimal.
Waiting for this all day.
Well, I would say it's pretty simple wine,
It's basic.
Actually.
I mean, it's like, it's pretty basic. I mean, it definitely tastes like red table wine.
It really does. And Gunlock Bunshu is usually like a more sophisticated winery, but I have to say that with this Zen, I don't usually drink Zen because it is...
let me stop you right there, Karena. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's not
stupid.
sophisticated.
Doesn't mean it's not stupid. No, you're absolutely right. I feel that with this one, though, okay, let's try to...
I mean, this is the smooth operator here.
It is a smooth operator.
Although I'm a little desperate.
Right?
I mean, at this point.
I know. I'm desperate,
I've
too.
had minimal food, minimal water, minimal breaks.
Minimal bathroom breaks.
Yeah. I've been...
I think that's minimally, friendly to you to have to do that. That's not cool. And I'm like, I hope it's not for minimal pay, because that would suck. Okay, let's try it again.
I like it. It's nice. I think it's smooth. It's not too busy.
It is smooth. It is simple. It's straightforward.
I like wines like that.
I like both. I think that if I'm wine tasting, I'd be pissed if I drank this.
Yeah, but you're not wine tasting.
I'm not wine tasting. I'm supposed to be talking to you guys.
You're podcasting.
So I am just stripping everything down to the essentials.
Yeah.
So I just need to get a little drunk on the creative possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, this tastes like
move forward.
Grapes and a little bit of like earthiness. Yeah. And it's simple.
It is simple. I think, I'm like, what else does it have? I mean, really, it's kind of a one-note wonder. But that's fine. You're right. I think it'll still get us drunk. It'll get us there. It'll happen. Yeah. So let's talk about minimalism as the funny thing,
It'll minimally get us drunk.
It'll minimally get us drunk, or at least the strict minimum of what we need to do that. So the funny thing is that artists have this reputation of being kind of messy, chaotic, over the top, right? Yeah. And we often talk about all of those, stereotypes of the artist, like the starving artist or whatever. And this is the messy artist. And the funny thing is that Michelangelo said, and this was so great, he was one of the most financially successful artists of all time, basically. He said, art lives on constraint and dies of freedom. And I thought that was really neat. It's like paring down all the shit and the choices and all that crap, and doing things within the formal restraints. So if we're talking about art in terms of, minimalism, it was a whole movement, right? That started, 50s, 60s?
Yeah, I mean, like, just thinking about what he said, I am thinking about for myself, oftentimes when I have a lot of constraints or obstacles, it does give you, it does stimulate more of an urge.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
to kind of break out of it, and you start fantasizing about things that you can or can't do, and you start to try to get yourself out of the box. So it does lead, I think, that idea of constraint, I think it does lead to the urge of being more creative.
I think it does too.
That's just my opinion.
Right, and I'm like a rule breaker, like just the idea of there being rules, like I like to kind of play within the rules. And, for example, I was working today all day. Oh my God, like you were working, I was as well. I was designing yet another bathroom. I think this is like my lot in life. And designing bathrooms is really like that thing of the constraints and having minimal freedom, but trying to express yourself within, you've got the requirements of the plumbing, you've got the requirements of like where things need to go and the materials you use. Yeah. But within that, you can do something kind of cool. So that's what I've been trying to work on. It is a pain in the ass. And also you've got the financial constraints.
Right.
And so I always tell my clients, I'm like, okay, let's do something classical and then have one wow thing.
Right.
And that's where we kind of break out of that minimalism, but it's a more strong statement because everything's not over the top. So I think that that's kind of cool. And also I think that with the creatives, but first let's talk about like what minimal art was. So like if you think of the minimal art, like one of the first minimalists was Yves Klein. We've talked about him before here. He's the one who invented the Klein blue. You know, he would just do like a rectangle. And blue.
Yeah.
And you're like,
cool.
Huh. You're like, that's kind of cool.
I mean,
kind of interesting. And it's focusing on like that color. I mean, I guess the whole concept is one concept, right? It's like one thing.
Right.
And like other minimalist art was all about the line or all about a block, like a shape.
Yeah.
And I mean, whereas I think that for me, I mean, I think that like theoretically that's super interesting. But I mean, when you're looking at it, do you feel that that's...
It depends on the context. I mean...
It does depend on context. See, that's exactly
so
right.
Everything's contextual, right? I mean, if that painting were in a room that had, you know, like a busy bar and, you know, a certain type of furniture and maybe, you know, a certain type of lighting, that minimalist painting would be the perfect little splash.
Yeah, the little foil to the rest of the business.
Yeah, to whatever else is going on. Because, you know, in certain settings, depending on what it is, you don't want to compete with the setting, right?
Right. But I think that's really interesting. Yeah, but that's super interesting is that the criticism, like the big criticism of the minimalist art was that, and this is Michael Fried, who was a formalist critic, and his criticism of that art was that it wasn't actually art. It actually depended too much on the situation and the environment and the viewer. It's more of a performance piece.
But he had a limited definition of art.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously he did.
I mean, we should have freed him up to do something else.
I know, he should have freed himself up. He should have freed his mind.
He should have freed himself up to do something else.
But I do think it's interesting. I think that he was trying to restrict it. He was being kind of minimalist in his definition of art, which is like a painting being a painting.
Which is kind of ironic.
Right, exactly. And he's like, this is no longer like a painting to me. This is more of a performance piece. So he thought that was kind of a breakdown or a failure. Like,
I think minimal people actually care what he says.
Probably. Right. So then the minimalist architecture, which I think probably has its roots in the Asian, you know, the concept of Zen, open spaces, lines, the way you experience a room, like
feng shui,
exact ma, which is the emptiness, I guess, and then the wabi-sabi.
I love wabi-sabi.
I love wabi-sabi. I think that wabi-sabi to me is more, I mean, it's kind of the imperfection, but it depends on stripping everything else away so that you can appreciate that feeling of imperfection because it's just like one object, right? That's there. Which I think is cool, or ikebana, which is like stripping down the floral arrangement to its essence of its perfect form, color, balance, you know, all that stuff, which I think is really cool. And I think that it's cool to link the minimalism to the idea of Zen. You know, and of, you know, the way you experience a space and how it opens. And the whole thing of Zen is that you get that stillness so that then you can have your ideas kind of coming in. And I mean, a lot of people say that if you have like your art studio, and I know that this is true, like if your art studio is messy, in some ways you'll see things like, oh, look at that ball of yarn over there. Like I can take this and I can take that. And then, you know, assemble them. But I know that often when I have like a blank, empty table, and it's organized, like I'm much more likely to use everything properly. Like sometimes I'll get lazy about like, oh, I know I've got that pastel somewhere. Yeah. But it's buried. You know, in the drawer.
Well, yeah. I mean, often when I would meet with clients about, you know, reclaimed wood walls or flooring or, you know, putting some kind of element of reclaimed wood in their space, you know, I would often, you know, ask them, you know, what kind of stimulus do you feel like you need? Like, not everybody needs, you know, some people need more stimulus in their living space,
like
or in
busy
their space
versus not
like
busy.
It's one thing to go into a busy, you know, trendy restaurant in the city that has like really awesome flooring and you know, and art and all this stuff, and you get really stimulated, but you're there for an hour and a half. You're having drinks and it's a stimulated. interaction. It's another thing to go home.
Yes.
And your nervous system is bombarded with all of these
the
elements.
Movement and the
Some people need that. I mean, I'm one of those people that I need lots of color, I need lots of texture, I need lots of coffee.
But your home still feels actually pretty zen, despite the fact that you have. But I think that even though you have a lot going on in your home, it's not.
You wait till you see what I did to it yesterday.
I'll show you it's not messy. You know what I mean? It's not messy. Like everything has its place. Like you're not actually like the colors and and I was thinking about your work. I was thinking about your fiber frequencies, like super colorful, everything else. And I was thinking, this is exuberant, but it's also minimalist because one piece that you've made and that you've sourced and that's super intentional, the way you kind of made it and you spun the yarn and everything else. And you're going to keep that piece for a long time. And it's that one piece that you can bring out that transforms everything else.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a one-of-a-kind thing. Yeah. I mean, I think...
So I don't think that's maximalist. Like, I think that fits into the minimalist, philosophy, really, to have that one special thing.
Yeah.
Like, just because you have one mug or one glass. Like, I went down the rabbit hole.
I'm not like that,
No, you're not like that. But you have your things. You know everything you have. You don't just hoard stuff because it's cool.
No.
You actually pay attention to each thing.
Yeah.
But, like, I was watching YouTube, and you guys will do this and watch the extreme minimalists who have, like, one glass. But oftentimes they'll be, like, a handmade, like, beautiful glass, and I have one. Because I would hate
one.
Just one.
Like,
just one.
Have you ever watched Beautiful Nail?
Yes, yeah, beautiful.
She was Beautiful Nail.
Just one. She's like, your nails going like this. No, that's your finger. I know. It's so bad. Our references are so highbrow.
I know.
But I think, true. If this was the only glass I owned and I knew that it was like from Bed Bath & Beyond, that'd be really sad.
It would. I would be
I'd be minimally exciting.
Yeah.
So I think that there has to be some of that balance. Like you were talking about the wood, like you have that focus wall, just one, and so that it's not too busy and you can have a balance of, my floors are all simple or my floors are busy and then my walls are simple and I have minimal.
Well, and so you'd have conversations about the contrast between something, stimulating and non-stimulating. And whether that's something that appeals to you or not. I mean,
right. And I think that that's really important, like the whole stimulation thing. I mean, they say that when there's too much choice or there's too much going on, is that paradox of choice. Where all of a sudden you're like, I can't make a choice. I can't make a decision because there's too much happening. I don't like, when you go to a museum and you've looked at a bunch of art and all of it's beautiful and you're like, oh, fucking Mona Lisa again.
You're like, I'm fucking hungry.
I'm hungry. I've seen too much. Let's go have a drink.
Yeah.
Like you get bombarded and overwhelmed. And I feel like sometimes maybe when you have too much shit, that's the equivalent of that. Or you have too many art supplies.
Yeah. Too much access to things. I definitely feel like there's, there's a place for both. Oh
yeah, I agree. Yeah, and we'll definitely be doing an episode on maximalism soon.
Yeah, too. You can be minimalist in certain aspects of your life, and maybe not in others.
Totally, I think it's up to you to find that balance, right? That works for you. Like I think that, for me, I have a ton of like jewelry, which is fucked up, and I have very few clothes, lots of jewelry. It's a balance that works for me. But I think other people are going to have, like Linda, who we're always talking about, like she has a ton of objects in her house. Yeah. But then everything else in her life is very pared down. Like the way she dresses is a formula. She's got the capsule wardrobe, right? Which I always aim to, and I never managed to make that work. Yeah. It's very, do you know anybody who has a successful capsule wardrobe? Right?
I mean,
Linda does. That's about
Linda, yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody else who manages to do that. That French girl ideal of like, I've got a trench coat and a striped shirt and a white t-shirt and black pants and I wear it every day. Like, I can't do it.
I can't.
No, I have a hard time. That's a bit much.
Well, because for me, she also is so slender. I always
that
feel
helps.
like
I think if you're like a skinny bitch, it really helps.
Yeah, because
capsule wardrobes are not a big deal.
No, I agree because I'll put something on and be like, oh hell no, this is not. Yeah, mommy can't fit in this
Mommy's
week.
Not wearing this week.
Yeah, this isn't happening.
No, and it can be a 1 millimeter difference, and all of a sudden it goes from being okay to being like, oh,
unacceptable.
No. I mean, and also we're artists or creatives, and we have a much higher standard, I think, for the way things look and feel. You're like, nope, that's not going to work today. It's not happening.
No, and it's mood related for me.
Oh my God, of course, and PMS related in terms of that.
Totally.
That'll happen.
It's totally PMS related. That's sleep related and all those things.
All of those things, for sure. But speaking of sleep related, I have we now live in a tiny house, like tiny,
this wine.
Right? It's not too bad. It's pretty simple but good. Speaking of tiny houses and stuff, which are one of those minimalist lifestyle things. So
I live in one of those.
I live in one of those too. We moved into the tiny house. Okay, sure, I have a whole other house full of my shit, but for all intents and purposes, I don't live with that shit day to day. So I got rid of most of my wardrobe here, and I have like one set of sheets basically that we just wash. But I do have like my one blanket that I just love, and like I literally double it up and it's like my blanket. And I get very possessive, but I think that that's kind of a fun thing when you get possessive of things that are special to you.
Yeah.
I think that that's great. And I think it goes for artistic objects, but also projects. Like if you're overwhelmed with too many creative projects, do they feel that special? Not necessarily. Like you want to be able to focus on what's important to you in terms of your creativity.
Yeah, I don't currently feel overwhelmed with too many creative projects.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Because I don't have any right now.
See? Well,
oh my God, this wine is making me... You put like
sleepy.
melatonin in the wine.
Yeah, I did. Well, I gave you that arugula.
I think it's just coming... I think I'm coming down from the
like
high.
the rush of work. Are you kidding me? But that's interesting that you say... So this is great. So let's talk about minimalism. You just said that you don't have any creative projects right now.
Well, other than the podcast.
Right. No, but I kind of love that because... You are saying no to, like, minimalism, kind of saying no to things is really good because you're leaving yourself open to that really exciting creative project. Like, tomorrow you might see some, fiber or whatever, be like, oh.
Well, that's something, like, usually by now I'm knitting like a fiend or I'm crocheting.
It's seasonal, yeah.
And it's funny because I have the desire to do it, but I also have the desire to do a project that's more... like that's kind of bigger.
Oh.
And it hasn't quite struck me what it is.
That's awesome. So you're kind of waiting. You're leaving that empty space.
Yeah,
for
I'm
it
kind
to
of feeling
come
like
in. Yeah,
because I was like, oh, I could make some socks, or I could, and then I'm feeling like, I don't know, like I feel it kind of like
percolating.
Yeah, gestating.
I like that.
Gestating.
Yeah.
But it hasn't quite, revealed itself to me yet. So
I like it.
I don't know what it's going to be.
I think that's awesome. Like right now I'm doing NaNoWriMo, that's National Novel Writing Month, and it's kind of a nightmare because I did it not as something that I had this real need to do, but more because I had to, because my writing group, a lot of people are doing it, and so I had to support them by doing it. And it's been a lot. Like that's kind of the drop that kind of made everything else overflow, and it's a mess. And I know it's a mess, but I don't have a choice. Well, because it's job related. You know what I mean?
My theory on that, it made me think of. I actually think it's a good process to bite off more than you can chew.
Once in a while, yeah.
Once in a while, because it reminds you of your limits.
Yes,
and it helps you kind of push yourself, and then you can become more minimalist.
Absolutely. I think that when you've had too much, you're like, that's it. It's like when your closet starts overflowing.
Yeah, you're like, enough.
Screw it, enough. I'm going to throw out half my stuff. Or when your desk is so filthy that finally you're like, okay, I'm going to clear the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting to the point, and this is so stupid because I was watching one of the extreme minimalists, and she doesn't use any makeup or cosmetics.
Yeah.
And I don't use that much makeup or cosmetics. I have these little RMS Beauty, and I'll plug them because I love them. They're natural. It's like 5 little jars, glass, no plastic, which is awesome, all natural.
Tell me about that.
Oh my God, I'll have to show them to you. You apply them with your finger. They're fantastic. You can kind of like mix them and do whatever. Blend them in. They're very natural looking. And that's pretty much all I use. I use the same oil to take my makeup off, moisturize, everything else. But I have all this shit that somehow just accumulates. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm getting to the point where like tomorrow I think I'm going to just dump everything and be like, here are my 5 little tubes of, makeup that I like and that are working for me, because if not, I just think it's not. So what are the things, like if you had to strip down both creatively and just in your life, like if you had to chuck almost everything, if you were going to Marie Kondo,
if I was going to keep,
what would you keep?
I would
what
keep,
would be the things you would keep?
I could tell you right now.
See, it's great. It's a good thought.
I would
exercise.
Keep my coffee pot.
Yes, and you've
talked about kettle.
You've talked about your coffee
pot.
I
have a porcelain coffee pot, and I would keep probably one of my favorite mugs that I drink out of, my little porcelain coffee float. So my coffee setup, I would keep that.
I think that things that kind of belong to that ceremonial aspect of our lives is definitely one of the most important things. Like things that we use to enjoy that ritual. Yeah. Okay. So
the coffee, I would I would keep my my guitar.
You would keep the Jesus.
I would keep hologram Jesus. Hologram Jesus. He's kind of a hit at
He's
my
a thing.
house.
Everybody loves him. She's got a hologram Jesus. Part of Keep It Simple Stupid is that not only should you simplify, but you should also know when you've simplified too much and that people aren't getting what you're trying to express. So I will explain to you, the hologram Jesus is literally just that. He is a...
Well, it's a picture of Jesus looking up at heaven, and the other disciples are. But then it's a hologram because, like, if you turn it, then it shows him like doing something else. I mean, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's a hologram. I don't even remember. I should know exactly what a hologram does.
But awesome.
Hologram Jesus hung on my grandmother's wall my entire childhood.
Yeah, and that's so special.
And I don't even know where she got hologram Jesus.
Probably at like a flea market or like an estate sale.
Actually, my cousin Eric is the one who technically inherited it. Oh. And I saw it, and he was like, I cannot hang it up. It's too intense for me.
You're like,
and I was like, I'll hang it up.
Yes, hell yeah. So hologram Jesus is pretty special to me.
Like, I would keep hologram Jesus.
Yeah, I would insist on that, yes.
Yeah, and maybe my bed.
Beds are good. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing, like necessities like sleep stuff. Like as I said, I have like a set of sheets now, and I have my bed, and I have my special blanket.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome. I'm trying to think the things, I mean, your guitar you would probably keep, I'm sure, like some paper and, sketching stuff.
Yeah, I would, but I mean, just giving you an idea of the things that,
Yeah, the really important things.
I think that's kind of like when you sit down and you think, oh, what are, if you say 5 things or 10 things, it kind of...
Your desert island list.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a little blueprint of who you are
and what's important to you.
It's kind of
what your values are.
Yeah, it's like a value call.
Oh, totally. I get it.
So
I think that a lot of the stuff that I would hold on to, like most of it, like most of yours, is stuff that's kind of handmade or that's special, that serves that ceremonial purpose, or that's for sure. It's like we all have those things, and I think that that's kind of important. The minimalism is really like stripping down to what's essential. So what is essential to the creative?
What is essential to the creative is the creative possibility.
I think, and I think the creative possibility is what's essential. And so that's why I think having the space to be creative.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have the nothingness, and then you create the something from the nothing.
Absolutely. So that's why I think that whole Zen architecture and everything is really essential, because you actually do have that nothingness that you can operate in with freedom, and that you like... For example, a dance studio or something, like, it needs to be large enough so that people can express the full movement. And I think, when you're a writer, that blank page is kind of awesome because it's that potential. And I agree that I think that what's crucial for the creativity is the space, the energy, the possibility.
Creative possibility.
More than the actual materials, because you can be creative without ever having a single art material. Like, you can be creative in your head with your ideas, and that's... Not, I mean, like you were saying, you don't have a creative project right now, but you're creative every single day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't struggle with whether I'm creative or not. No, I just don't have a particular...
Right.
Like, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I'm creative and I'm working on this.
Yes.
And I'm lugging it around with me.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a reminder of your creativity. It's like a physical reminder of your creativity, but you don't always need that. I think that one of our future episodes is actually going to be, there's so many creatives tell me that they don't know whether they're creative enough and that they don't feel that they're creative.
Interesting.
Right? I think that's a really unique thing. And I think that with stripping away everything, I think it's a fear, because it's like, oh my God, if I strip away my supplies and I strip away all of the trappings of this creative person that I am, all those unique outfits and the means of self-expression that they think it is, they all of a sudden are like, what's left?
Well, it's interesting. I took a figure drawing class in San Francisco years ago, and this class, I mean, it's in, I want to say like I think it's close to Dolores Park. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But anyway, the guy that teaches it is very, very popular. And you have to get on an actual email list, and you have to be kind of invited in
you need to
by somebody. And yeah, it's interesting because it's in an old Victorian in San Francisco.
Ooh.
It's a very, very cool class. And he has live figure models, or models. He has live models.
Not dead
and
ones.
Not
It's
dead
always
ones.
good. I like that when they're alive.
Yeah.
They smell better, first of all.
For sure. But so anyway, the whole approach to figure drawing is not technical figure drawing. It's what you feel from the model. So he doesn't teach like anatomy and all that stuff. He basically teaches for you to actually experience the energy of the model. So you will stand there and he'll give you all these exercises where you have paper and charcoal and
charcoal is great because it's so imperfect, so it like you focus on the feeling because you know it's never gonna
you're not allowed to look at the paper, and you look at the model and you draw the model and then you look back and you're like, oh, I just did like a dragon or something,
right? You're like,
and
it's
really
free.
It's really interesting. But he'll do all these different kinds of exercises. Okay, well, you know, the model will strike a pose, and then you will close your eyes and then draw it. You know, all these different ways to download.
Exactly.
To download the image. And it's not from like, it's more about, you know, like creative experience.
Yeah, that's actual creativity more than depiction. I mean, like, I think that some people can, to me, like they can draw perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they can exactly represent, like they're great draftsmen or they're great illustrators. And to me, those aren't the most creative people. I mean, like, they're not necessarily artists. They're actually craftspeople. Like not even craftspeople. Like they're doing some kind of a job almost. Yeah. Whereas if you can do something that makes you feel a certain way, then we're starting to get into. I had an art teacher who would make us. There was an apple, and she's like, "Wait, stop! Don't draw the apple. Draw kind of the weight of the apple." And I was like, that's absolutely insane. But that was another exercise to get you to get to that essential side of it. And I thought that was really, really cool. I liked that a lot. So I saw an example of people who are kind of these minimalists going towards simplicity and the essence of things. And I saw an example that you like, which is Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh yeah, I love Gandhi.
He spun his own yarn, and he would make his own garments and strip that down to the sheer essential of like, what does it take to cover my bits and to not freeze to death, you know? And then am I going to make it myself? Yeah. And does it mean more to me? Because like a lot of these minimalists are making all their own shit.
Well, he did it to free himself from getting the cotton from England.
Exactly. Well, yes. Exactly. So that was essential to him. But I think that a lot of people who are thinking about more of this minimalism, but then they start to feel guilty because they're doing it wrong or something. And I think that it's only what's important to you. It's only what's essential. Like you don't have to strip down to absolutely zero waste. I mean, that's a nice goal. Or you don't need to strip down to I'm making all my own shit. Right. You know, it depends on, like, minimalism can mean different things to different people. Right. Right? Saying no to things, you don't have to say no to everything. Right. You know? I mean, I think, okay, if you had to say no to some of the trappings of, like, normal creative life, what would they be? You're like, these questions, bitch, when you're...
I know, you're like, always on the spot. I would say no to this question for starters.
Right? Well, but minimalism teaches you to say no. So
yeah, I'm not that good at saying no. I mean, that's... everyone that knows me would tell
everyone
you
that knows you?
Everyone that KNOWS's me would know that I am not that good. Yeah, I mean, saying no to... I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of shit during the week that goes on. Mostly, mostly it's stuff that I have to do, like grocery shopping.
That's the problem.
And laundry. And
there's a lot of that. And for example, though, like laundry, if you let your laundry pile up for, X amount of time more, it might be okay. Like sometimes it might be, I mean, then you have that tipping point where stuff falls into the
you're just like, I don't have any clean underwear, and how do I feel about
That's
that?
how you, how do I feel? Well, how do I feel about that? Like, I'm not judging, like, dirty underwear is, fine. or not. It depends on the situation.
Right.
But yeah, I agree that saying no to some things, like there's some creative projects where people are like, oh my God, well, you're a writer and this, you should really, work with my friend and do that. I'm like, like once in a while, no, if a project doesn't resonate with you, but I get it. Like, yeah, if you have to do something, if it's a job related thing, you're kind of stuck, but then, kind of start to see, like, I don't love this in an ideal world. And so I think this is another interesting minimalism idea, is that minimalism doesn't have to happen right now, right? It can be a long-term goal of, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Bucket list thing, right?
Yeah, because I think there's times in your, like, parenthood, that's not a minimalist time period.
It's not like, right.
You're basically, your time is like completely tied up with like what your kids are doing.
Totally. And you're going to have the ugly toys in your place, and you're going to have the running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You're going to be buying more clothes than you want to because they're growing out of them. And that can feel so frustrating. But like, if you realize that, okay, this is a bucket list thing where like my goal is that 10 years from now, I'm going to have, kind of whittled this down to less. I think that that's kind of something that you can tend towards and really make rules of.
Well, and I think you can start to look, I think as a concept, you can start to look at minimalism as, okay, I'm in this, whatever it is, a project, your life, your evening, your day, and say, what part of this do I not have to include?
And do I not enjoy? Or
and
do
do I not need this? What part do I
Mm-hmm.
not need? And you can kind of shave away those parts that aren't necessary.
And
it's the same way. Yeah, I mean, it's the same way with, I think with like illnesses and diets and things. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of sense in. Maybe you don't need 5 more prescriptions. Maybe you need 5 less donuts. Maybe
absolutely.
Maybe you don't need 5 more inhalers. Maybe you need 5 less cigarettes.
Absolutely.
Like
sometimes taking
it's
away
better
than
to
adding. Yes.
taking away than
absolutely.
adding things.
Absolutely.
And I think that we live in a culture that is we have kind of a big culture in the big meaning like. It's like bigger's better. Put more cheese.
Buy a bigger house. Add double size that.
Yeah.
And you want more fries with that? And guacamole's extra, but you want it, and like all that stuff. And also like you want this tool, and you need this thing.
Yeah.
And you need to decorate over the top. Like so there's a lot of maximalism that we're.
I think simply just turning off your TV or or doing simple things to not expose yourself.
So exactly, because we were saying we mentioned briefly that minimalism is countercultural. Like our culture pushes us towards consumption and maximalism and using things. So I think that you get a lot of resistance when you try to pare things down. Even though it's a trend right now, like it's still something that people fight you on it, and society fights you on it, and the economy fights you on it.
I mean, it's funny. I will, in many places, I'll go to people's, and I'll make salads, and in fact, my friends Damon and Gavin call me the salad queen, and because I'll bring salads. But often I'll make salads, and I will simply toss them with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper.
Simple and delicious.
And and it's just and there's no dressing, and there's no cheese, and there's no, and often it's like, oh, when you minimalize all of this like accessory stuff,
then the ingredients
you can
shine.
Actually taste
the ingredients.
The sweetness in the peas.
You're like, this tastes like grapes.
Yeah. No, but
absolutely,
I mean, there's all these things that shine through.
Yes.
When you downplay other aspects.
Oh my God, totally. Like when you declutter like your brain space, you declutter the ingredients, you declutter your space, like. All of a sudden things are allowed to shine. And that's what's super interesting about the whole minimalism thing. It doesn't mean doing less. It means like kind of doing more with less so that you can kind of, figure out what's important. And I think that that's what some people miss. Like some people make the act of becoming more minimalist everything. And that's not the point. Like I don't think
there's always people that take things too far.
Always. Yeah. Like I don't think the goal is to be minimalist. The goal is actually to make space for better, bigger, cooler, more interesting, more passionate, like a better life. Yeah. Not to be like these people who are wearing like the, unironed linen thing and, drinking out of the same, I mean, it's just like, come on guys, that's not the point. It's not the end goal. Right. Minimalism is not the end goal, it's a tool.
Yeah, it's about stimulating a different type of engagement or philosophy, I think.
Totally.
Is ultimate. I mean, at least it is for me. I mean, I think, if you're going to do anything, do it for some kind of meaning or purpose.
Oh, absolutely. But so one of the interesting theories about when you're getting rid of stuff, like you're making the space, but I think there's like an energy dividend. They say that there's basically like this energetic, like all this stuff has this energetic weight.
Yeah,
it puts on you, like it's this psychic, energetic weight.
Yeah.
So when you're like, when you say I got rid of this and I feel so much lighter, like I think that that's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
And that allows you to be more creative as well. That lightness of being.
It frees you up.
You feel that freedom, and that freedom is part of what creativity is, which I think, I'm like, that's, fascinating. So what is it, like, you determine what is it specifically, like, you don't need to get rid of everything.
No.
But what is it that's making you feel more weighted down than the rest? Like, some people will think that it's, hey, I've got too much food in my house, or I've got my diet's like all fucked up and it's too, get rid of that, or I've got too many appointments all over the place. I don't mean anything. Like, get rid of that, right? Like, what makes you
I mean, I think taking stock of things, doing an inventory of
yes, I think that's a great creative exercise.
And saying, is this what can I do to get these things out of the way? What can I and then give yourself permission to put things in certain levels of priority.
Totally. And I think that the permission is important, because I think that it's something that's so hard to do. Like, we're told we can do it all, and we're told we should do it all sometimes. And I think that it's safe to say, like,
I did it all today.
Oh my God. I think we both had one of those days that was a little bit of a maximalist day of trying to perform and running around. But, like, how do we feel at the end of it? We don't feel great.
I feel thrashed.
Right? We feel like super ragged, super messed up. Like, what the hell? Do we feel a sense of achievement? I don't. I mean, I did a lot of stuff. Like, I got stuff done, but do I feel great about it?
I mean, I survived it.
Yeah, great. So that's
I don't feel like
look at her yawning.
I don't feel like my day was even finished.
Right. I don't feel exactly like I don't feel like I finished anything.
Yeah.
So much stuff. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, that's our beautiful minimalism thing, is like too much stuff is just gross. So I have all these different like categories of things that you can kind of minimalize in your life. So we've got the food.
Yeah.
So the food, like, knowing where your food comes from, going shopping at the farmer's market and having less ingredients. Like, people who, I love these recipes that have like very few ingredients. And that's kind of why I was like, let's do wine, because it's just like this small, basic ingredient. That's good and high quality.
Yeah.
Or that delicious, like, sometimes when I'll have people over for dinner and I have all these appetizers, I'm like, I'm so stupid. I could have had something really simple and delicious.
Yeah.
And we were in wine country this weekend. We had this cheese with really good bread, but simple bread, nothing in it. Okay, cheese, bread, and this amazing strawberry jam. Okay, it was amazing. We're like,
wow,
what the hell? It was like the best thing I've eaten in a long time. 3 simple ingredients. And that's all you need for your appetizer. You don't need to have anything else. Like, it's amazing.
I mean, that's what Paul and I had for dinner. We got this really delicious goat cheese.
Oh, so
and then
good.
I had this beautiful bottle of wine that I got, my boss gave me, and it was
something super
Stag's
yummy.
Leap.
Oh, Stag's Leap's good.
And it was like a really, really good one. And it was, so we drank the wine, we ate the cheese, and he had this tartine bread.
Oh, okay, see, you're naming all the best ingredients. Like, that's
and then
fabulous.
we put it in the oven and heated it up, and then
amazing.
That's
and
what we had for dinner.
And you did Jalal and I used to do that. My husband and I used to, on certain like Sunday nights or whatever, like cheese board for dinner.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And you only need like 1 or 2. I mean, it doesn't need to be like a million cheeses. The really good ones that you really enjoy.
We had a truffle brie, but we didn't really eat that. We had the
that's pretty good too.
We had the goat cheese. That was incredible.
Goat cheese is amazing because it's very complex and it's really nice. And you took the step of heating that bread a little bit.
Oh, it was so good.
Right? Oh, amazing.
The crust on that bread.
See?
It's incredible.
So you enjoyed, like, if you had
It was simple. It was
simple,
really simple.
but amazing.
Oh, the other thing that we did was we put all this freshly ground pepper on the cheese.
See? That is just
because it was like this beautiful white circle, and then we covered it with ground.
See, so you get
ground
the
pepper.
visual, you get the taste, you get the full experience, and I love that. If you'd had a million things like all over, you wouldn't have enjoyed those little
the peppercorn, especially ground peppercorn. It was amazing. Amazing. Amazeballs,
as I would say. Another thing that you can kind of simplify and that you can pare down is like energy usage. So whether it's emotional energy or how much energy like in your house, like if you have a ton of stuff going at the same time, like
turn it off. Turn
it down.
We do, we light candles, we make hot bath, we put Epsom salts in the bath.
So good. I
you
love
can put aromatherapy oils in your bath. The whole place smells like it.
Yes.
The candle, and you
simmer down.
You simmer down.
Simmer down, baby.
And that is turning the energy down.
It's turning the energy down.
We have a no technology past 9 o'clock law in my house.
That's amazing. And like when we had our power outages, I mean, we did our podcast by candlelight. And that was kind of fun. Like we had a good time, and it was like you got to focus on other things than how's the lighting looking and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of you're focusing on something else.
Yeah.
We've got
looking at how nasty I look tonight.
See, she couldn't do that by candlelight. Minimalist grooming techniques.
You're gonna have to like me for who I am as a person tonight.
Sorry. That's what we have to do. Not for our lovely clothes that we usually wear. Clothing is another thing. Like what is essential, and we've talked about the capsule wardrobe. Yeah. Today you're wearing your scrubs. You look adorable. Like,
I live in these stupid things.
And I'm just matching, the environment, and that's fine too. It's not a big deal. Like I don't think people actually notice what we wear until they do, and who cares? Like, do we care? I don't work in fashion. You don't work in fashion.
No.
I mean,
I don't care.
If somebody notices something you made, that's different.
Yeah.
I mean, of course.
I notice what people wear. And people come into my office and they look super cute.
Or if it looks good or if they look super cute. But otherwise, you're not going to be like, oh, unless there's something wrong with it.
Unless it's dirty and smells bad or something.
That too. So that's back to the grooming and the cleaning. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Cleaning products. Like I think that we have a tendency in this country to have like a cleaning product for every single surface, like a different one.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
I just have that one from Trader Joe's that's like vinegar and water.
Totally,
pretty much.
Right? That cleans everything. Just like my face oil that does everything.
Yeah.
The vinegar and water does everything in your house. And I think that that's something major.
Yeah.
Unless like you love having all these different products, which is fine too. Like we're not, we judge, but we don't. You know what I mean? Then all the like gifts and stuff for people. Like again, I think that instead of giving them stuff, having a really special like experience to me is kind of cool as well. Or a really special gift that they're going to keep and that they're going to remember. Because, did you get your coffee pot from someone?
I did, and it broke. I mean,
and you were very sad about it.
I was very sad. I got it from my friend Isa, and it was one of those what is it called? It's a Japanese porcelain.
I mean, sounded
And I had a butter dish that the butter dish is fine, but the coffee pot it's a teapot actually, and I've had it for 12, 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And it finally just, I use it every day, and it finally cracked.
Well, now...
And it was leaking, so I had to get a new one.
So that's something where I think that when you have to get rid of something, use it as an opportunity to get something that you really like.
And
you get more mindful, right?
Yeah, I got a great coffee pot. I got a great teapot that I love. Almost even more. It's got...
That's amazing. Level up. When you have to get rid of something, it's like when you get rid of your car, get a car that makes you happy.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of my friends who listens to this podcast quite a bit, we were supposed to meet up. She didn't show up. I was like, what's going on? She had this huge car accident.
Ooh.
And she was fine, totally fine, but the car was destroyed. And she always hated that car.
Oh, interesting.
So then her husband's like, well, whatever, let's just get whatever. And she goes, no. I went through this thing. And we only have one car because they simplify. They just have one. She's like, let's get something that makes us happy. And that doesn't mean more expensive or anything else. She's like, but let's really choose the car that's going to make us feel like, that's the cool thing that we want. And I thought that was really amazing. For me, when my makeup brushes break or something, I'm going to get something that I know I can keep.
Yeah.
Or get something that works. So that's kind of cool. So I've got a couple tips just for kind of minimalisting your life without going crazy, and we're going to give you guys these
I love it
10 tips, right? 10 tips, and that's going to be our conclusion. And I don't know how long this podcast was, but we're keeping it simple, stupid.
It's almost an hour.
Not too short, not too whatever, doesn't matter. So number 1, learn to say no to unnecessary things. So unnecessary social engagements, unnecessary purchases, unnecessary whatever it is. Like, don't buy into the hype that you have to do everything. Cut off some of the financial resources that may be available to you, but like maybe, for example, if you cut back on expenses.
Yeah, maybe cut up some of your credit cards and stop using them.
Exactly. And also like some things where sometimes you've got all these side hustles to make an extra dime because you were buying stuff that's useless. Yeah. Think of what's essential, because sometimes you're running yourself.
Your time is more essential.
Your time is very valuable. Yeah. And so that's something that's important. But if you don't want to do that, like, don't feel guilty, but just kind of weigh in, like, how important is it for me? How crazy am I going? Do a little bit of digital decluttering. So like your inbox or your desktop on your computer or all of your cords, like all of these things. Or get rid of
your TV, throw it away.
Or get rid of your TV, or get rid of your cable bill. Yeah. Or get rid of, the various toys, that, like, if you still have an iPod, like, you don't need an iPod. What
were those one things that people used that you remember, those little planners that they have?
Oh my God, yes, what was that thing called? It was like, it wasn't a BlackBerry, it was like a little digital planner. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, what was it called? So many people I knew had those, and I thought they were so cool.
Right? It's like, no, get rid of that. Like, your phone makes so many other things redundant.
Yeah, totally. Get rid of it.
You can give up, and that's fine. And I just said a dirty word, which is like phone or digital. Like, having digital stuff, if you don't mind reading on a tablet or on a phone, you can stop buying the books or stop buying the magazines. You can get everything digitally, and then you don't take up the space. Or do what you do, which is you're a big library person.
I go to the library.
Go borrow stuff. And we borrow stuff. My husband and I, we borrow tools from people. We'll borrow the things that we don't want to have to buy, So then here's another interesting thing, is to design a system for everything. You can streamline, you can minimalize like how you do stuff by having a system that works. Like, when I get ready in the morning, it takes me 2 minutes flat because I have a system. Yeah. And it's like boom, 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 boom. So no mental energy is wasted on thinking about this. It shows sometimes, but that's fine. It's okay, whatever. Personalize your minimalism, which means that, like, minimalism doesn't mean the same for everybody. Right? Like, you can be maximalist in some things and minimalist in others. Right. I think that's great. It's not a problem. Right. Redo your drawers and closets so that they're streamlined. I know, and I did my closet, and it's always a work in progress. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna redo my makeup cabinet, my toiletry thing. It must be. It's horrible.
Need to do it too.
It makes me unhappy. Like, the minute something starts to make you unhappy, that's when you declutter. Stay close to where your work is. And so you did this recently. Yeah. So, you're closer to your work. That has changed your quality of life.
I mean, I can pop over here in 5 minutes when I get off work.
Pretty fabulous. It's great. And then my husband is 2 minutes from the bus. So he, that's streamlined a lot for us. And I think that that's really great. Like, never, unless you drive to work and you're listening to podcasts like Creative Happy Hour podcast, that's not a waste of time.
That was my friend Missy is kind of pissed that I don't have a commute anymore because we used to talk on the phone during the commute.
See?
That was our time.
Well,
but also,
you lose some.
I used to listen to podcasts on my way to work too.
I know. Sometimes
and now I'm like 3 minutes. I don't have. I get
it. That happens.
But I have been doing more reading.
It's always like, look and see like what you lose and look and see what you gained. Like, I think that that's really important. I had said this, borrow instead of buy. We did that. Go digital, I've said. And then stop hoarding things. I think that sometimes when you buy the stuff that you're told that you need to buy, it's almost like hoarding because it's so mindless. Yeah. Like, look at what it is. It feels like it's almost as disturbed as hoarding. It does. Like, when you're just buying everything all the time without thinking about it, like, it's actually clinical. Like, it feels like it's a bit much. So be a little bit more intentional in what you do. And I think that your creativity will soar. I think it's going to be amazing. Your glass is completely empty. My glass is half empty. Yeah. I hope that you guys enjoyed our little maximalist definition of what minimalism is, right?
I did.
Right? I thought it was good. And we will see you next time. In the meantime, you need to subscribe to our asses because you're going to be learning a maximal amount of things. Yes. It's going to be so great. And we will see you
next time.